Thank you, everyone. Is this on? Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here today. The latest numbers that we have from yesterday in Massachusetts for coronavirus, total case 110,897 cases. It was an increase of 295 from the previous day. Statewide deaths, 8,268. That was up 25 from the previous day. Those numbers combine both the confirmed and probable cases recorded by the state. Boston's numbers as of yesterday were recorded 13,650 cases, an increase of 26 from the previous day. We have 9,666 people that are fully recovered from coronavirus, an increase of 28 from the previous day. And 713 people have lost their life, and that's up by 1 from the previous day. And as always, our prayers continue to go out to the families of those who are sick and suffering from the coronavirus, as well as families who lost their loved ones to this illness. Phase 3 in Boston begins on Monday, July 13th. I'm going to provide some updates on how we're going to move forward in public health, in city services, and in our guidelines for public sector organizations and individuals, private sector organizations and individuals. I'll start with the public health strategy. We're going to continue to follow the science and monitor the data, as we've said from the very beginning. We're going to make sure that we are moving in the right direction as we think about reopening and opening in different phases, to make any adjustments that are needed as we move forward here. We're going to continue to track any new cases, which we've been seeing going down over the last 14-day period, which is a good sign here in Boston and in Massachusetts. We're going to continue to be in daily contact with our hospitals to check their capacity. As of this week, our ICU usage in Boston hospitals is at 75% of normal capacity, which is well below any surge level. We're going to also continue to monitor the testing data very closely. The overall positive rate since the start of the pandemic is now down, from the first day till today, is down to 15.5% from a starting point of over 35%. In the week leading up to July 4th, only 1.8% of COVID tests came back positive. We're going to continue working to make tests widely available, working continually through our community health centers, and anyone interested should contact the community health centers in your neighborhoods. We're partnering with a number of health centers on temporary mobile sites that offer free walk-up testing, whether you have a symptom or not. We'll be bringing the mobile sites to neighborhoods all across the city, but in particular where inequities are evident in the case numbers, or where fewer people are getting tested, and we're monitoring the testing by neighborhood, so we're able to see in certain neighborhoods that have had lots of tests and neighborhoods that haven't had the ability for lots of tests. As always, anyone interested can call 311 to connect to the Mayor's Helpline for the latest on mobile testing in your neighborhood, or quite honestly, anywhere in the city of Boston. And our map of regulating testing sites will be kept up to date if you go to boston.gov/coronavirus. I also want to be clear that in Boston that we have a very robust contact tracing operation with the Boston Public Health Commission. We are reaching out to people in multiple languages with information on testing and self-quarantine. It's a good example of where leading with equity makes a whole system stronger, and the contact tracing allows us the opportunity to literally stop the spread of a virus for people that have tested positive for coronavirus. All of the work that's going along is allowing us to enter phase 3 with both caution and confidence. We took an extra week here in Boston, as most people know, to take extra steps due to our unique concerns here in the city. And this cautious approach also informs the reopening of our city facilities. We remain open here in City Hall open on Tuesday and Friday schedule for services by appointment only. We are formulating a plan to increase access to services both here in City Hall and other municipal buildings throughout the city of Boston. But despite the state guidelines allowing larger gatherings, we will not be hosting public or private meetings in City Hall or any other city building at this point. We've had success with online meetings, and we're going to continue that way for the time being. A great example of our community planning on the future is our plans for Franklin Park. Franklin Park is Boston's biggest open space. It's one of the great public parks in America. It's in the heart of our communities of color, touching Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, and Jamaica Plain. It's a place to experience nature It's a place for health and recreation, and it's a place to gather community, as we've seen in the recent demonstrations. The city is investing $28 million to preserve and improve Franklin Park. That includes $5 million for maintenance and endowments to make sure that it's always kept in good shape. Despite the economic setback caused by the pandemic, this investment and many others are moving forward to support healthy equity and quality of life in our city. And it's critical that local voices continue to lead in this way to shape our future. So on Tuesday of next week, July 14th, we're hosting an online community workshop at noon and 6:30 p.m. You can find out where the planning process is and how you can have your voices heard in this process. You can learn more about joining the workshop if you go to franklinparkactionplan.com. That's franklinparkactionplan.com. I believe, and we believe in the city, that parks are essential to the health and well-being of the residents in every single one of our neighborhoods. They've been a vital resource during this pandemic, and we remain the #1 city in the country for access to parks, and we're making sure that our open spaces are available and accessible this summer. Playgrounds and splash pads reopen in Phase 2 with appropriate safety and signage, and on Monday, permitting starts back up for low and moderate contact sports and other events. High contact sports like basketball, football, lacrosse are not permitted until Step 2 of Phase 3. But skilled practices in those sports are allowed, so you'll not be able to play a game, but you're definitely able to get out there and start practicing with the young people. For outdoor events, we're limiting attendance to 50 people in the city of Boston. This is less than the statewide limit of 100, and people organizing or participating in these events will be required to follow all of the guidelines around face coverings and physical distancing. And again, it's about being careful and cautious as we move forward here in the city. I want to thank the Parks Department and Special Events for kicking off our drive-in movie series successfully this week at the Convention Center in South Boston. Most of our shows have filled up already, but we still have slots available. For our Age Strong matinee, which is next Wednesday, July 15th, this is open to Boston residents who are 55 years and older. Registration is required by calling Age Strong at 617-635-3959 or just simply calling 311. This week we'll be showing a movie 42, the story of American legend Jackie Robinson. The Boston Public Library System is another foundation in our city's quality of life, and we've been committed to making these library services available in one form or another during the pandemic. Since our buildings were closed and our libraries were closed, we've had 1.4 million online items checked out of our system. We've had 31,000 new library card signups, and we have an average of 9,000 patrons using our library services every single day here in Boston. That's a testament to how residents rely on them. In Phase 3, we are not opening our physical libraries yet out of an abundance of caution, but we will continue online borrowing as well as our new BPL to Go program. In just a couple of weeks, BPL to Go, we've already had 28,000 physical items put on hold. People have called in and asked for books and other items, and 28,000 are put on hold. As of this coming Monday, BPL to Go will be available at 16 branches all across the city of Boston, with more branches coming soon. You can use the bpl.org website, or you can call 617-536-5400 or go to bpl.go to have items held for you. I also have an update on our Boston Center for Youth and Families on our summer programming at our community centers. Our community centers have been closed since March for everything except for the free meal distributions that we've been doing throughout the city. But many of our families depend on these centers for the summer, and we've been working hard to make sure the programming is available. Teen programs started this week virtually, and today our online registration is open for day programs, both virtually and in person, for children 7 years old or older. They include arts, computer activities, recreation, virtual field trips, workshops, and many other different activities that we have. As more programs are finalized, we're going to be adding these programs, making sure as we do them that they can be provided safely. All of these programs will be operated in accordance with public health guidelines, And to learn more about that, you go to our BCYF website at boston.gov/BCYF summer. A healthy and equitable reopening also depends on actions taken by private sector organizations. So we're going to continue providing resources and helping workplaces manage the risk as they move forward safely. For Phase 2, we published a guideline for construction, for office space, houses of worship, and outdoor and indoor dining. Phase 3, we have new sector guidelines available for indoor fitness and health clubs, outdoor events, museums and cultural and historic facilities, and guided tours. These are detailed operational guidelines that build on the state requirements. To answer questions, we're continuing our webinar series for various industries. And yesterday we covered indoor fitness, and this afternoon at 3 p.m. we'll be launching a museum and cultural facilities plan. You can find all of the resources, and most of these resources, they're for the public, but they're also for the operators of these different places. You can find all these resources by visiting boston.gov/reopening. I again want to urge all employers to communicate clearly with your workers in both planning and execution. Use translation services and language access to comply with all ADA regulations. This pandemic has made it clear that an inclusive, equitable plan means a stronger, safer system. In Phase 3, we'll also be continuing to support the residents and small businesses who are suffering economically from this crisis. I have some updates today on housing, employment, and transportation. I could start with some good news that many people have read this morning's paper. We extended the moratorium on non-essential evictions at the Boston Housing Authority properties through the end of 2020, taking steps to protect tens of thousands of low-income residents all across the city of Boston. These are certainly extraordinary times, and we need to come together to protect residents and stabilize all of our communities. So I want to give a shout out and a thank you to the wind companies for also extending their moratorium through 2020 for folks who have lost income due to the pandemic. Wind is our largest private operator of affordable housing in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I encourage all landlords to take and follow their lead. Nobody should be losing their homes at times like this. I also want to encourage tenants to contact your landlord or building manager as soon as possible if you're having difficulty making payments. They should be flexible and willing to work with you, but it takes clear communication from both sides to make that happen. We're going to continue to make our $8 million renter relief funds available for those without access to benefits. I want to thank the governor for adding to the state's renter relief fund as well. And I want to say I continue to support the extension of the statewide moratorium on evictions. There's been widespread issues of economic disruption that we still need to address as we continue to move forward here. I also urge Washington to look at what America is facing this summer and fall with unemployment, lost income, lost business, and I'm asking them to take bold action. There's some legislation right now that's in front of the United States Senate, and we'd love to see that legislation pass. We are closely monitoring the economic situation here in Boston, but having partners is really important for us as we move forward here. In addition to our relief funds, we're drawing on our resources and expertise in our Office of Workforce Development to help those who are out of work due to COVID. We have a new program called Project Opportunity in partnership with our Office of Public Safety. It's a set of legal supports, job training, and job access opportunities to help residents with query reports. Second chances are at the core of what we believe in my administration in our city. Everyone is doing the right thing. Everyone that's doing the right thing deserves a job and a path to financial security. And that's especially true during the times like this. Transportation is also another major issue for access for jobs and quality of life and environmental justice. We took the opportunity this spring to create the Healthy Street Initiative to accelerate our work on new bus lanes and bike lanes and improve pedestrian space. This week we completed the bus-only lane on Washington Street through Chinatown in downtown and added separate bike lanes as part of this route. I want to thank our transit team here at the city. We created in Boston, the Transportation Department, to advance these kinds of projects as they move forward. I also want to thank the MBTA for their partnership and the work that's been done here. For 24,000 daily riders, This bus lane is going to take 12 minutes off the commute from Nubian Square in Roxbury to jobs and amenities in downtown Boston. And it's going to create a much safer biker infrastructure here in the city. I can also share that to help with the safe reopening, the Blue Bike program is offering a free 90-day pass to all workers in grocery stores, pharmacies, restaurants, and local retail shops. That builds on their free passes that they've already done for the medical and frontline workers during this closure. Blue Bikes connects almost every single part of our city to downtown Boston, and they're cleaning and sanitizing all their bike stations regularly as we continue through the pandemic. I think I've covered a lot of ground today. I know there'll be some questions here in a minute, but overall, the message about Phase 3 is we can move forward because we've been doing the right things here in Boston. So we have to continue to do the right things. For our businesses and nonprofits, that means carefully planning and implementing public health guidelines. For individuals, it means wearing a face covering whenever you're out in the public, keeping 6 feet distance from other people, avoiding large crowds. Wash your hands as often as with soap and warm water. Clean your surfaces that are frequently touched. We're moving forward with caution because we're seeing what's happening in other states when they rush. These cases, it seems like every day in California or Texas or Florida, there's a new high in the country. Those highs are because the residents and the people there didn't take the precautions that we have in Boston and Massachusetts. So we want to continue to move forward. We need to continue supporting needs of the communities and investing in our communities, advancing equity and the quality of life in our city and throughout this pandemic. I just want to end. I've talked a lot about the health and quality of life today, so I want to close with an ongoing concern in our city, and that's fireworks. I've been talking now for the last month up here at this podium about the danger of fireworks. July 4th is behind us, but we're still hearing them go off in many of our neighborhoods. They continue to be a safety and a quality of life concern in our neighborhood. And as we've heard and I've said, this is causing trauma, stress, and sleeplessness. It's a fire hazard and a very dangerous safety risk. And now we have an 11-year-old little boy in the hospital with serious injuries to his hands and to his body, a situation that was entirely preventable. Yesterday, I spoke to the young boy's mom, and what she said to me, she started crying and she said, I just need you to tell people how dangerous this is. And I told her I had a press conference today, and she said, would you please talk about that? Because she was crying about her boy that's laying in the hospital. This young man is potentially going to have permanent physical damage. He will have permanent physical damage and psychological trauma. I heard the pain in this woman's voice yesterday. And I hope that people can understand the frustration that I have and the fear that I have of what fireworks can do to our young people in our city. We've had enough of this. It's time to stop. We don't need another crisis to deal with this. We created a task force on ways to address this, and I want to thank the members of the task force. And they began meeting and reaching out to the community. And they came up with some ideas on what we should do on how to stop the fireworks. It's incumbent upon all of us as residents in the city to let the people know in the neighborhoods that are fighting the fireworks off, tell them it's time to stop. Fireworks are illegal in Massachusetts. They can't be carried over state line. For people out there watching, if you know anyone that's buying them or selling fireworks, they're illegal. You can anonymously call the Crime Stoppers hotline at 1-800-494-TIPS. That's 1-800-494-TIPS. Or you can text the word TIPS to 27463. You might think that when you call in, nothing's happening. Something's happening when you call in. We're investigating to see. So my message to people on the fireworks is it's time to stop. With that, I'm going to stop and turn over to questions from the press.
Mayor, can I ask you about the schools? Are you satisfied with the reopening plan as it's being formulated? And I know some of the teachers are concerned that federal funding won't be there to keep them safe. There won't be enough money to put in modular classrooms. How do you feel?
Yeah, the question is on how do I feel about the plan, there's no formal plan, but I'll explain that in a second, on reopening schools. Right now, we're in the midst of working on different models of what schools could look like coming back in September. You know, a lot of people have a lot of concerns. There's a portion of people that don't think we should open in September. There's a bigger part of the community, I think, that thinks we should open some type of school in September. And there's some people that quite aren't sure how to formulate a plan yet. At the end of the day, what we have to make sure is, as we've based everything we've done, is on data and looking and seeing what we have. Obviously, the model of online schooling is a model we have, and it's something that, depending on where we are at the coronavirus at the time, that's one option. And then the other options are, do we do a hybrid model? And I had a meeting today with the school department. We had a 2-hour meeting. We talked about a whole bunch of different pieces about teachers and bus drivers and cleaning and safety and all of that. So as we get forward here in the next week or so, I'd say the next week to 10 days, we'll be announcing plans on what we're going to do in the school. We're still taking ideas and input. The school department's doing a survey with teachers and with parents and getting their opinion. And quite honestly, we're watching the news and watching what you're reporting and what people are saying out there. So I'm not going to announce any definite plan for September 12th. I will say this. When September 12th comes around, our kids in our school department, our kids in our district in Boston will have been out of school, out of a physical building for 6 months. And if something doesn't happen where we get our kids back into a classroom, that's going to have effects, potentially long-term effects in their education. But again, I'll talk more about that as we move forward.
Is the money going to be there?
Again, the money piece, certainly we made an investment in the budget this year, $80 million investment in new spending in the city. That new spending isn't about reopening the school. That new spending is about improving the quality of education in the classroom. That's something that we talked about today too, and looking at the plans and see what the cost would be and the different costs. I mean, there's no question about it that opening school this year is going to cost more than the bottom line is. And we've seen it in other districts around the Commonwealth. They've already laid teachers off. I think there was a story in the paper the other day, 2,000 teachers have been laid off in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts from school districts. Boston, we have not laid anyone off. And I don't want to lay anyone off, and I have no intention of laying anyone off. But in saying that, you know, having support from the federal government will be helpful. Again, there's no dedicated. I think Mitch McConnell has done a flip-flop back and forth here. He was against the bill that was sent over from the United States Congress, and now I think he might be for the bill all of a sudden because the cases in his state are going up. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. So the question is on the reopening of phase three areas: healthcare, gyms, outdoor sports. What's the third one? Indoor dining. I think that the biggest concern I have, and I think the operators have, is the indoor space stuff. I think that gyms are going to have to put more people on to do more cleaning. Restaurants are going to have to do a lot more cleaning as well. And I think that as long as we follow the protocol in those different areas, and if protocol means wearing a mask, washing down surfaces, no physical contact, all of that, it's incumbent upon not just the establishment owner, but it's also incumbent upon the individual. So as long as we do what we're supposed to do, we should be okay. But the indoor stuff, I think, it's going to be the hardest one, even for those areas. But I think a lot of our gyms in Boston, we gave them the week. We didn't hear any complaints from anybody about it. And I think they were grateful to have that extra time to come up with a plan on how to open up safely.
Here at City Hall, where do you feel like that's going to be with regard to the city space? Not now,
Yeah, the question is about not having public meetings in City Hall. Public meetings, quite honestly, right now, where do I think is the phasing? We're going to be monitoring, really honestly monitoring the numbers and the data to see when we feel it's safe. I mean, I've done this press conference now for 4 months. We've done it outside, except for 2 days we had to go inside. We've been outside. Everyone's physical distancing. Everyone's wearing a mask. It's still, coronavirus is still very much here. So we have to be very careful as we start opening up some of this stuff. Yeah, the question is on moratorium for BHA. How do we imagine people paying later when it's over? I mean, I think that we're extending the moratorium right now because the concern of the next several months. I think that certainly we're not going to be making people pay lump sums like January's here. Okay, everyone pay up your money in one day. So that's why we're going to be asking people to work with the Boston Housing Authority, just like people working with banks. Can I just jump in? Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in. I did have one question that I want to ask. I forgot about it. Sorry. From the Boston Globe, and then I'll come back to you. Okay. Are the increasing cases count in the city, both on Wednesday and previous weeks, cause for concern with more city businesses preparing to open? So I'm going to say one thing. We're monitoring the range of data, and I'm going to ask Marty Martinez to say more. So the question is, are increasing case counts in the city, both on Wednesday and previous weeks, cause for concern with more city businesses preparing to open? So just to give you an idea of what it was, Monday, Tuesday, we were in the 20s. Wednesday, we went to 44. And then Thursday, we went down. And I think today might be in. So I'll let Marty, and I'll come right back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. No, I mean, I think, as the mayor mentioned, we're monitoring not only the number of cases, but we're also monitoring the positive percentage, right? So cases are going to fluctuate depending on how many folks are tested each day, but we monitor the overall percentages, we monitor the 7-day averages, we also look at the hospitalizations, and all that's really important to see if we see any increased COVID activity. So as of right now, we don't see any increased activity of concern, but with things opening, we want to make sure we monitor that and we stay on top of that ongoing.
Yeah.
Rental relief fund for the city of Boston, do you know how many people have applied, how many people have been accepted, what the average amount of relief provided?
Yeah, the question is on the rent relief fund, how many people have applied, how many people have been accepted, and I'll just add, is there anybody waiting for it? I'll have to get you the information on that. I know that we've given out $1 million. We have $8 million in the fund. I want to say it's roughly 200 applications that have applied for it, but I'll get you the proper answer for you right after this.
Mayor, do you consider...
I'll come right back.
About the fireworks, you mentioned that people should call the police. The police often have a difficult time finding the person setting off the fireworks. How many people have actually been prosecuted or charged with setting off fireworks since the summer was pretty?
Yeah, I don't think the question is about calling the police. How many people have been prosecuted, charged with setting off fireworks? I don't think anyone has been arrested or charged with lighting off fireworks. What the police have done is confiscate them when they get a chance to. We're not going to arrest somebody shooting off fireworks. We will arrest somebody that's trafficking fireworks, and there has been several opportunities where the police have confiscated large amounts of fireworks. But I mean, we're not going to arrest somebody for shooting off a bottle rocket, but we are going to confiscate the fireworks from them.
Why not? If it's as dangerous as you said, why not take that?
Because we're not going there. We're not going to go there. I think that, again, it's about education. Some of the kids shooting off are kids, and why would the police department arrest a 14-year-old, have something on their record when they could have a conversation with them about the dangers of them and explain that to them and confiscate them? Again, but if we pull over a van loaded with fireworks, you're getting arrested. I mean, if you're trafficking fireworks into the city of Boston, quite honestly, that's what it is. You're getting arrested.
Mayor, have you considered requiring masks citywide? If you're in the public, you have to wear a mask. We see a lot of people in the team don't have them. Sometimes people are...
I mean, we've asked. It's been a suggestion to this point, and a lot of people are wearing them. The issue is on enforcement. We've just had protests in the country over the last 6 weeks about having less police involvement. And if we're going to have masks on and have police involvement, whether they're arresting people for fireworks or enforcing mask rules, that's not what people want to see. And I think that I'm proud, and there are cases obviously where somebody doesn't wear a mask. I see enough of it, but most people have their masks near them or on them. And I think the fact that our numbers are low, our case numbers are low, something has to be said that people really are following guidelines and they're keeping physical distance, social distance. And I don't have the answer that maybe Marty does, but when we do the contact tracing, the people that test positive coronavirus, there's probably a good chance that person wasn't wearing a mask or doesn't wear a mask. I don't know if you want to jump into that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think to the mayor's point, that's true. I mean, I think you've seen widespread facial coverings used across the city, and I think in those places where you've seen spikes in cities, what our colleagues across the country have talked a lot about is businesses reopening, bars, restaurants, things that where people don't have facial coverings, or people are not keeping social distancing. So I think the Bostonians have done a really good job with it. Can more people wear them? Absolutely, but we've seen a lot of progress with it.
Mayor, I have one more quick one for Byron. He's doing a story about Northeastern is apparently entering into a contract with some local hotels to put some students up there to ensure distancing. Do you think it's a good idea, win-win?
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely a good idea. I mean, I think that right now the hotel industry in Boston is hurting, quite honestly. They haven't had guests in 4 months, and I think that for the foreseeable future, I think they're hoping to get back to 25% capacity at some point. People aren't traveling. I mean, when you think about just local American travel, people aren't flying from Florida and Texas and different places, California. Quite honestly, I think it's concerning to a lot of us that the cases are so high. So if the colleges are successfully able to open in the fall, and they're able to have additional, some of their issues on campus, they don't have enough dorm beds to have single room occupancy. So if they could assist the hotels and rent them and lease them, absolutely. And I know some other colleges are trying to keep a dorm free for individuals that test positive for COVID, so they can be self-isolated and kind of continue to learn. So I think it's a good idea. I support it. And I'm sure some people will be mad that I said that, but I think it's a win-win. I think it allows the colleges to come back and have safe social physical distancing in the dorms. It allows the hotels to earn some revenue, quite honestly. I mean, the housekeepers in the hotels. Right now there's issues that pre-COVID, if you stayed at a hotel, when you left of the day, your room got cleaned every day. Now you have to request a room being cleaned. I mean, that has implications on housekeepers and not having enough housekeepers, having to bring back the full allotment housekeepers. And again, that hurts our economy, because now you have people that should be working in the hotels that aren't working in the hotels, but in fairness to the owner of the hotel, it's not full. So I think the more we can get activity in some of these places safely is the right way to go. Any other questions? All right, everybody. Just one last thing on one of the questions on the masks. One thing that I would suggest that you do is, when I go home, throw some shorts on, I have a mask there for that. I have this one. So if you have a habit of putting a mask in your bag, like your keys, you'll always have it. So when you walk out, you're not, oh, I forgot my mask. So just those little things that, unfortunately, we have to talk about today. Have a great weekend, everyone. No fireworks.